Latest reports say President Donald Trump has filed a libel lawsuit against the publisher of the Wall Street Journal and reporters who wrote a story about a collection of letters gifted to Jeffrey Epstein for his 50th birthday in 2003, including a note bearing Trump's name and an outline of a naked woman. The lawsuit, which seeks at least $20 billion, is an extraordinary escalation of Trump's ongoing legal campaign against media companies he views as opponents. Now, Trump has denied that he wrote the notes. In the 18-page filing, Trump's legal team accuses the journalist's parent company of engaging in glaring failures in journalistic ethics and standards of accurate reporting. The filing notes that the journal, in a story, did not publish the drawing or the letter that its reporters allege Trump authored. Now, Trump had threatened to sue almost immediately after the story, which was written by journal reporters Khadija Safdar and Joe Palazzolo, was published late on Thursday afternoon. Both reporters are named as defendants in this lawsuit. The president's relationship with Epstein, the late convicted sex offender who died in a New York City jail in 2019 while awaiting trial on federal sex trafficking charges, has come under increased scrutiny in recent times. Now, to discuss some of our top stories, Arise News international analyst Doug joins us from via Zoom from Dubai. Hi Doug, how are you doing?
Doing good, thank you very much.
Well, thanks for joining us once again on Arise America. It's always a pleasure to have you. If you read, or rather if you listened to some of our top stories, you would see that Ambassador Huckabee described his visit as symbolic. Now, in your view, what is the significance of a U.S. envoy publicly in a West Bank village like Taipei at a time of escalating tensions?
It's very interesting. And Huckabee, of course, is a very strong Trump supporter. He's a very strong supporter of Israel. He's a very evangelical person himself. And he has always stood for even this very conservative right-wing Netanyahu government. So for him to kind of break on this issue, on the settlers possibly beating an American, Palestinian American to death, to break with them on that. And then also, I think the Israeli government has been dragging or slowing, I should say, visas for Christian visitors to Israel from the United States. That has apparently angered Huckabee a lot. And so he has actually been quite outspoken now in being critical of some aspects of the Netanyahu government. And it's rather surprising.
Absolutely, he's been quite outspoken indeed, seeing as he also called for an aggressive investigation and real consequences. In your opinion, Doug, what concrete steps should follow? Does this go beyond strong words to actual policy or diplomatic pressure? What steps are we looking at?
It's a good question, and I kind of wonder if Huckabee's going a little bit rogue here, away from normal U.S. policy. Essentially, Marco Rubio is our Secretary of State. He's been paring back the Department of State. They've furloughed many people from there, and I kind of get the impression that Ambassador Huckabee is really operating on his own right now, and it's pretty interesting. I mean, he is a huge Trump supporter. I'm sure he listens to Trump and talks to him fairly frequently, but for him to sort of take this stand, which is counter to the interests, I would say, of the Netanyahu government, is really kind of a break. And so it's we'll have to see how far it goes. He has not been critical of the Gaza operation that I'm aware of, or other aspects of Israeli policy, but this is fairly large.
Okay, so historically, we know that the U.S. has been an ally of Israel. How unusual is it for a U.S. official to rebuke settler actions so publicly, and what message does this send?
Extremely unusual, and the Netanyahu government has been allowing their settlers to continue to live in illegal settlements and harass the Palestinians. And in previous Israeli governments, of course, they have pushed back on the settlers, but not now. And so for Huckabee to take this stand against the settlers' actions is quite interesting. So it's very significant, and we'll have to see where it goes, and we'll have to see if the Trump administration takes a harder line against Huckabee.
Do you think that this, let's call it little friction now, will have any impact on ongoing wars, ongoing peace treaties as they stand?
Probably not. We'll have to see. I know the Netanyahu government is under pressure from a lot of different angles right now. This is just one more. Hard to say whether it's going to have a direct impact on policy, but we'll have to see where it goes.
All right, Doug, let's switch gears a bit. Let's talk about President Donald Trump and the Wall Street Journal. Now, oddly enough, Trump has long positioned himself as a defender of free speech and sort of someone who's willing to speak against the establishment, to speak the unspoken truths. How does this lawsuit align with or contradict with Trump's stance as far as free speech is concerned?
Whatever he says, it's pretty clear he's never been a defender of free speech. If you want to go back to his first campaign, where he paid a newspaper not to publish the Stormy Daniels story, and basically make sure that the news did not get out. But he has sued numerous media organizations over what offenses to him. I would say all the stories have generally been accurate, but he does not like them and he sues them. And often we've seen more and more, I should say, we've seen media organizations simply paying a settlement rather than actually take him on in court, which is probably cheaper. And also, it's very hard to cover the presidency with your news organization if you're in a giant lawsuit with them. So it's a big deal. Now, what's really interesting about the Wall Street Journal, of course, is that's a very conservative newspaper that's been generally supportive of Trump. And for them to come out with this story, this bombshell story, which really pushes the narrative that Trump was involved with pedophilia and worse, it is quite stunning. And the Wall Street Journal story is very well documented, and I think we can be quite sure they never would have come out with a story unless they were 100% sure about their sources and about their information. So Trump first tried to say it was a fake story, but there's the Wall Street Journal has a lot of evidence saying that this birthday book actually exists. And there's definitely a drawing in there that's allegedly Trump's drawing, and it really sort of, I think it's causing a big rift within Trump's very, very loyal supporters. His cult, as some people call him, that have always supported him and have always believed him when he said he had nothing to do with the pedophilia. But now it looks really bad for Trump, and it's causing a major rift within his supporters, and we'll see where it goes.
The allegations are definitely causing a rift in Trump's support base. So this brings me to my next question. Is the goal of this lawsuit a win in the courtroom, or is Trump using this as a campaign tool to sort of salvage the opinions of his support base?
That's a great question, and we'll have to see where it goes. He is denying that this is his drawing, that he has anything to do with this. His supporters, I think, again, his really hardcore supporters will basically believe anything he says. The problem is he keeps changing what he says, so it makes it hard for his most loyal supporters to continue to agree with him when he disagrees with his previous statements. So now the lawsuit he has to do, because essentially he has to be in complete denial that this had anything to do with this. And it's pretty clear that he did have something to do with it. So we're going to see where this goes. But for the first time that I can remember, we're seeing a major rift within his really hardcore supporters. It's early days yet, but it could get very, very interesting there.
Doug, it seems you've delivered an early judgment there, saying that you are certain that he has something to do with this. Well, to prove this libel case, what do you think that Donald Trump must prove? Do you, beyond proving that WSJ acted recklessly or knowingly published falsehoods, what kind of evidence do you think his legal team has in their bag? What do you think they're going to be bringing to the table to make sure that the president does win this case?
Well, that's super interesting, because the next step here is, one of the first steps will be a discovery, where both sides get to demand more information from the other side to see if this is actually if they're telling the truth, I guess. And so this could mean that the documents that the Justice Department have held on this may actually get the light of day finally, after being, after promising to release these documents for months and months and months, and then finally saying they don't actually exist. We know these documents are there. There may not be a list of actual people that went to the island, but there's plenty of information about who's in the flight logs, about people that were involved with this, and through other ways. There's been previous testimony, there's grand jury testimony, there's lots of things that could come out that will give us a lot more information. And it's very interesting that the Trump administration, after saying for a long time, for years, that they were going to let this information out, decided only a month ago that no, this information doesn't really exist. But now we know it exists. We know that it more information like the story that the Wall Street Journal has may be coming out. And it's going to be harder and harder for Trump to continue to deny that he had anything to do with it.
That will be very interesting, though, wouldn't it be? All the information that, like you said, we are expecting in the future. Now, it's certainly difficult to cover the White House and be afraid of litigation. What precedent could this case set for media outlets covering political figures?
Well, so for years and years, there were norms within the U.S. government that basically meant that media continued to have complete access to the White House to White House briefings, to things like that, even when there were disputes between media agencies and the president. Trump changed that, and Trump has punished various outlets when they ask him questions that he doesn't want to have to be asked, or they imply things, truths, we should say, that he doesn't like. He will have them barred from the White House or from the briefings. He will not take questions from those media agencies. So he does go out of his way to punish various media organizations. I mean, whatever he says about supporting free speech, he's very, very far from that. So for the Wall Street Journal, again, for them to actually publish the story as opposed to CNN or New York Times or something is really just amazing, because they have been sort of one of the sort of stalwart supporters of Republican Party policy. And for them to publish this, they had to make some really hard editorial decisions and expect that essentially they're going to get some blowback in terms of their ability to cover Trump administration events. And we'll have to see where this goes, but it's not a happy time for the freedom of speech.
And no, it's not a happy time for the freedom of speech at all. Neither is it a happy time for journalists, considering that one of their major functions is to hold leadership accountable. Doug Brooks, international Arise analyst, thank you very much for joining us on Arise America.